Alrighty, and looks like the recording is good to go. So welcome everyone to today's webinar, Navigating Your Science Career Journey for Environmental Science and Geoscience students. My name is Alyssa Laskowski, and I work on SNHU's Career Services team. And I will be your host this evening, along with my colleague Tyra, to walk you through today's presentation. As a general housekeeping rule, all attendees' mics have been muted and cameras have been turned off for this webinar presentation. Now, your experience here at SNHU is very important to us. It is our policy and practice to create an inclusive and accessible learning environment. If there are aspects of this presentation's design or delivery that present barriers to accessibility, please notify the appropriate accessibility center listed here on the screen. So first and foremost, we want to welcome you all. Thank you so much for being here this evening. And now I'd like to turn it over to my co-host Tyra to say hello and introduce herself.
Hi, everyone. Good evening. Thanks so much for being with us. My name is Tyra Davey, and I'm your Associate Dean of Science for the online programs. Really excited to be meeting with you all tonight. Thanks so much.
Perfect. And as a quick reminder for those who are in the audience this evening, please feel free to say hello in the chat box, maybe where you're calling in from and your major. We'd love to hear from you. So where are we headed this evening? Today, we will start by discussing and distinguishing geoscience career paths and environmental science career paths. We will begin with an academic overview of each program, followed by tips for exploring careers, industries, and jobs, and how you can apply your SNHU courses to your career goals within each program. Then we'll discuss some tips for internships and gaining experience. And finally, we'll end with resumes and interviewing tips. So just as a gentle reminder, this webinar will be recorded, so students are not required to take any notes, but you are, of course, welcome to. All attendees will receive a follow-up email to your SNHU email address with all the links to the resources that we discussed today, as well as a link to this recording. So in order to get the emailed resources, we do ask that everyone here make sure you are officially registered for this webinar if you haven't done so already. And you can register online through my SNHU, and I'll make sure I'll add that link to register here in the chat box shortly. And again, all other housekeeping items, all attendees' mics, again, and cameras have been muted. We will have time for Q&A at the very end, so please wait to add your questions into the chat box until the end, and of course, we will address them then. And so for now, I will turn it over to Tyra.
Thank you so much, Alyssa. I did pop the link in the chat there in case you're not registered through that Blackthorn link. So feel free to go ahead and check that out. But we'll go ahead and get started. This is going to be broken out into two sections. We're going to talk a little bit about geoscience for our geoscience majors first, and then we'll walk through some similar examples for environmental science. So what is geoscience? This is commonly misconceived as just geology, but it's actually an interdisciplinary field that covers a broad spectrum of disciplines. So earth science, atmospheric science, geology, geography, physics, chemistry, and it allows you to study the dynamic nature of the earth, understand its history, and examine its current and predict future changes to help make informed decisions, which is a really great field to get into. It's very vast, as we'll talk about today. And the Geosciences program here at SNHU is full of opportunity to prepare you for a career in the field. So what courses will you take, or what courses are you already taking? We're breaking it down kind of just as a quick overview and kind of your foundational courses, which labs you'll take, your major core, kind of those higher upper level courses, help you kind of specialize in geoscience. There are two available concentrations, data analytics and natural resources and conservation. Saw a lot of folks in the chat introduce themselves with their concentrations. That's excellent. And then we have lots of major elective offerings. And so tonight we'll talk a lot about how you can customize to your interests and your goals this whole academic program. And one thing that I want to specifically call out, because we get a lot of questions about this, and not everyone is aware that as part of your major electives, you can take experiential learning through SCI 360. Experiential learning courses are short-term educational professional development or training courses that allow you to pursue professional career experience and or certification prep. The primary goal is to expose you to real-world problems with guidance from your instructor. You'll take the lead on a project and earn academic credit while building experience to add to your resume, which is really excellent. You can take experiential learning up to 2 times and earn 6 credits towards your degree. The schedule for experiential learning will rotate throughout the year, and that's really to offer you all experiences that are interesting to you, relevant and current things that are coming up. If you're a geoscience major, we have lots of great offerings for you all. Experiential learning courses in grant writing, certifications and licenses, and a new one that we're offering this year is applied sustainability and consulting. You can take Site 360 as many times, the 2 times that I had mentioned for the 6 total credits, which is a nice perk to be able to kind of earn credits while gaining experience. You also have a lot of free elective space to transfer credits in from a previous institution or pursue interdisciplinary interests that complement your degree. So what paths can you take in geoscience and how can your degree support you along the way? Next, Alyssa is going to share the vast opportunities that exist in this field, and then we'll share an example of how you can leverage your degree and your time here at SNHU to achieve your career goals.
Awesome. Thanks, Tyra. So let's go ahead and begin with popular geoscience industry sectors. So it's helpful to start categorizing geoscience jobs into industry sectors, or what we oftentimes call career pathways. This is a useful way to identify geoscience jobs and specialties that interest you. And so remember, the geoscience workforce is dynamic and occupations can span multiple industry sectors. The American Geosciences Institute lists dozens of industries in which geoscientists are employed that include, but of course not limited to, mining and earth science, data or geospatial information science or GIS, hydrology, environmental geology, oil, gas, and engineering, emergency management, climate science, law and policy, and energy, and remote sensing. The broad field of geoscience encompasses many subfields and types of occupations. And industries for geoscience majors like the ones listed here mainly fall into these 3 categories. The first is the public sector. The public sector includes federal, state, and local governments, as well as public research companies. Now, according to data provided by the AGI, the public sector is one of the largest hiring industry sectors related to geosciences. Geoscientists are employed by government agencies and laboratories to conduct research, assess building sites, monitor natural hazards. They manage natural energy resources, practice environmental law, support education, communicate science, and much more. Second, there's the private for-profit sector. The private for-profit sector employs geoscientists in the industries like oil and gas, geotechnical, geothermal companies, hydrology, even environmental services as well. And geoscientists can also work for engineering firms or even commercial laboratories. There's real estate companies and developers, even law firms, and those private research institutions. And lastly is the nonprofit sector. So geoscientists often work in nonprofit organizations focused on environmental issues and the preservation of natural resources. So let's take a look at some of the industry sectors that are noted here on the left and highlight some examples of employer organizations that align. Geoscience majors develop the ideal skills to work within a wide variety of employers and organizations. Now, each of these specialized areas of interest you see here on the screen, you can look to find a government department, a nonprofit organization, a corporate company, or even an educational institution that specializes in that particular area. Say, for example, you have an interest in mining. You could explore opportunities within the U.S. Department of Labor. Another example, let's say you have an interest in hydrology. You could view opportunities through the Department of Water Resources or even a company like Ecolab. Or if you're interested in the oil and gas sector, you can definitely look to explore companies like Chevron or BP. The Bureau of Labor Statistics predicts a bright future for a career in geosciences, with employment prospects expected to grow by 5% over the next 10 years, which is faster than the average job growth for other professions. So that is super exciting news as you begin to identify employer organizations who are constantly looking for talented professionals like all of you. Students can also check out the workforce and employer data that's provided by AGI, which briefly examines the employment trends for geoscience and the industry level employment trends for sectors in which geoscientists work. Now, a geoscience degree can equip you with a variety of skills and knowledge that's useful in a variety of jobs. So it's important you do your research to understand which areas interest you and which types of jobs align with your career goals and your career passions. Say, for example, you have a strong interest in working in oil and gas or engineering. You could check out a job like a petroleum geologist. In your research, you would find that a typical petroleum geologist will identify the location of oil and gas deposits by studying rock formations and mineral samples, and they will recommend safe and efficient means to extract deposits. Does that sound interesting? Then it could be the right career fit for you to look into. Or maybe you want to know more about jobs in the data science field. You may want to explore what a geospatial data scientist does. If planning, designing, and executing geospatial projects using digital mapping software sounds like you, then it could be worth exploring more about the types of requirements for that particular job. Lastly, to help you start researching jobs, the AGI has developed a resource for students that explains the types of job opportunities out there for geoscience majors. It's called the Careers That Change the World brochure, and it's colorful and informative and explains what geoscientists do, where they're employed, and how to get started as a career as a geoscientist. And now I'll go ahead and turn it over to Tyra.
Thanks so much, Alyssa. So Alyssa shared some really great examples of potential careers based on your specific interests in geoscience. And I appreciate everyone introducing themselves and sharing kind of, geoscience is absolutely massive. So being able to kind of pare that down into, what segment of geoscience you want to get into is really important. So once you research the job descriptions and the skills that are needed, you see what organizations are hiring in this area, what do you do next? And what can you do while you're here at SNHU to really help yourself? So let's take one of those examples and map out what you can do while you're here to work towards this career goal. So let's say as an example, you're enrolled in the geoscience program and you're interested in natural hazards. You might consider a career as an emergency manager. So how might you focus your time and your academics on setting yourself up for success in this kind of field? You focused on natural disasters and emergency management, but how do you go about putting this all together to create a cohesive picture of your experience for your career? Well, it'll be a good start to take your course in geohazards, which is required as part of the major. Taking that course earlier rather than later, so it'll get a good foundational understanding of natural hazards and their impacts on humans and across every industry. So being able to kind of take that as kind of your foundations and then pin down exactly what and where you'd like to see yourself be able to do this work will be important. And then what skills will you need and what courses should you take from there? And we'll think about this as kind of putting all the puzzle pieces together. There's a lot of offerings at SNHU and being able to pin that down so that it all makes sense as part of kind of your career journey will be really helpful. So in emergency management, communication is going to be a key skill. So you might consider taking a course in communication in STEM or crisis communication is going to be really helpful. Other ways to focus your degree would be to consider concentration, maybe in data analytics. These technical skills will help you use data to analyze emergencies. Other useful courses exist in geospatial technology like GIS, which can be used for understanding previous natural disasters, modeling and predicting future events, and creating plans for evacuation and emergency response. Earlier, we introduced experiential learning, which I mentioned is you can earn credits while gaining experience that is going to help you land a job. We offer an experiential learning course in certifications and licensures each year. This usually falls into the fall term. In this course, you can explore and begin to pursue an industry-relevant certification that will prepare you for the job in the field. Some relevant examples are shared here, including the HAZWOPER 40-hour, or maybe getting SCUDA certified. And all of these are going to be with support from your instructor. to pursue those interests. Finally, interning for, say, a nonprofit organization like the American Red Cross or your local or state government agency for emergency management would be a really great opportunity to be able to showcase your ability to work in these environments and also learn from others in the field. Alyssa will share a little bit more information about how to find an internship and tips for preparing your application materials coming up next once we dive into environmental science. So stay tuned for that later in the presentation. I'm going to pop to the next slide then for me, Alyssa. I see some really good questions here coming through the chat as well. I'll get to those when I jump back in. So next, we're going to turn the page. We're going to talk about environmental science, our other science degree here at SNHU. So what is environmental science and what does an environmental scientist do? So they're key stewards of the planet. They analyze environmental issues related to everything from the climate crisis to changes in biodiversity, and they're really champions for sustainability and protecting Earth's health. This program provides a strong foundation in natural and physical sciences, focuses on current environmental issues, and explores areas of the environment anywhere from natural resource conservation to wildlife ecology to water quality management. And as you're taking a look at this, kind of notice some of the similarities and the differences from the geoscience requirements for each program. Here, there's lots of opportunity as well in environmental science. It's going to prepare you for a career in the field. So what courses will you take? You can see we've broken it down again into foundations, a lot of lab courses and getting a lot of good experience there. Actually, Intro to GIS is included in this as part of your foundations. Then you go into some of the upper level, more hands-on courses, including ecology and field methods. You have the same two options for concentrations, both data analytics and natural resources. And then you walk into your major electives where you can have a little bit more time and space to be able to customize based on your interests. Again, with experiential learning, I did see a question there, offer credits or is it just for certification? That's a really great question. So you will be able to take this as a course. The SCI 360 course is worth 3 credits, and you can take that up to 2 times for a total of 6 credits. So while you're pursuing a certification or working on a project or writing a grant and working with your instructor, you'll be able to access those academic credits while getting experience. And some other relevant experiential learning courses that we offer for environmental scientists. Animal behavior is a very popular one. We offer that 2 or 3 times a year. Grant writing again, citizen science, and like I mentioned, applied sustainability and consulting is our new course that we offer. And of course, like geoscience, we'll have lots of free elective space for you to either be able to transfer credits in or work on some other courses that really are going to complement your degree. So what career paths can you take and what are alumni doing in this field right now? Some common job titles of our alumni that we see are life scientist, environmental health and safety specialist, sustainability officers, natural resources program managers, field biologists, lab supervisors. Next, as we did before, Liz is going to share and expand upon this for all the different opportunities that exist within environmental science, the different sectors that are hiring and things like that. And then we'll share a more specific example with which courses to take to help kind of put all those puzzle pieces together for you.
Thank you, Tara. So the combination of scientific knowledge and hands-on skills you gain as an environmental science major really allows you to customize your career. So let's begin with popular environmental science industry sectors. Again, as I explained before with Geosciences, it is helpful to start categorizing environmental science jobs into those industry sectors or your career pathways. And you can look to explore work as you're interested within a wide variety of industries and sectors like the ones that are listed here, including but not limited to climate and energy, conservation, data science, research, education, and consulting, atmospheric science or air quality, ecology, law, chemistry, and soil science. And so similar to the geosciences, the broad field of environmental sciences encompasses many types of industries and sectors. And those industries and environmental sciences fall into the same three categories. So again, that public sector includes federal, state, and local governments and those public companies. Local and state governments employ roughly about 36% of all environmental science and protection technicians, according to the Bureau of Labor Statistics. And the public sector, again, is the largest hiring industry for environmental science majors. Second, of course, we have our private or for-profit sector. The private for-profit sector employs environmental scientists in fields like environmental consulting, data management, research, as well as education. And then we have the nonprofit sector. So environmental scientists often work in a nonprofit organization that may be focused on environmental issues, specifically environmental advocacy and or the preservation of natural resources and land. So let's take a look at some of the sectors that are again noted here on the left and highlight some examples of employer organizations that align with them. Environmental science majors develop again the ideal skills to work within a wide variety of organizations. And each of these specialized areas of interest you see here on the screen, again, you can look to find a government department, nonprofit, a corporate company, or some sort of educational institution that specializes in that particular area of interest. So for example, if you have a strong interest in conservation, you could explore opportunities maybe within the Department of the Interior, which, according to recent data, employs the largest number of environmental scientists. Another example is if you have an interest maybe in climate and energy. You can view opportunities at top climate and energy conscientious companies like NextEra Energy. Or maybe you're interested in environmental research. You might consider exploring opportunities and roles at the EPA. And researching potential employers and organizations is vital to an effective career search. The research comes in handy really at three pivotal times in your career search. The first, when you're deciding what kind of employer you'd like to work for. Then, when you're ready to apply. And of course, finally, when you're interviewing and your knowledge of that company is really put to the test. Now, the field of environmental science is growing at a faster rate than ever due to issues such as climate change and pollution. Individuals who pursue an environmental science degree have several options when it comes to jobs, including a career as a climatologist, environmental scientist, health and safety specialist, and many more. So it's important that you do your research to understand which areas interest you and which types of jobs align with your career goals and your career passions. Say, for example, you have a strong interest in working in conservation. You could explore a job as an ecologist, which focuses with a focus, for example, in conservation. So this is someone who studies and assesses ecosystems to determine how humans impact their ecosystems and their unique environments. Or if you ever wondered what it'd be like to work in consulting, you could explore being an environmental consultant. This is someone who offers expert advice to clients in regards to how they manage environmental issues and how they can reduce their company's overall carbon footprint. And according to the Bureau of Labor Statistics, employment of environmental scientists and other specialists is projected to grow roughly 6% up until 2032. Again, faster than the average rate for all occupations. So that is a really exciting career outlook as you begin exploring your own unique career path and those unique job opportunities. And now I'll turn it back over to Tyra.
Thanks so much, Alyssa, and great futures for you all in terms of the job market. So we just saw a lot more examples of careers and places to work in environmental science. But how do you get started and how do you make the most of your degree program while you're here? So like we did before, let's walk through an example. Let's say you're enrolled in environmental science and you're interested in water quality. Environmental science, again, is quite large. Even water quality as an industry is quite massive. But let's say, for example, that you wanted a career as a water resource specialist. How might you focus your time and your academics here to really get the most bang for your buck here? So let's put it all together like a puzzle. Say you are just starting and you're taking some of your courses. It'll be good to complete some of your lab coursework early on in the program. This will give you really great experience, hands-on, and really relay really nicely to your field methods course. This will give you broad exposure to a lot of different aspects of water quality, including all of the biological, chemistry, physics of our water, and experience with water quality testing and hydrology in that field methods course. So what skills will you need and what courses should you take to continue kind of pursuing this once you know that you're interested in it? Again, the ability to analyze data is going to be instrumental in this type of role. So you might consider concentration data analytics or even the natural resources and conservation. Concentration is a really good option. Both offer you the chance to help you focus your degree program to align with your goals. Other useful courses in public health exist that can complement your degree, maybe not directly in environmental science, but giving you experience in terms of the public health impacts and being able to communicate really critical information about the water quality to decision makers and the public. Again, we talked about experiential learning. So if you were to take an experiential learning course, what might be the most relevant for this type of role? Grant writing is going to be a really great opportunity where you can practice writing to apply to a grant in the field of interest. This allows you to explore and begin to pursue industry relevant experience that you may not otherwise get within your coursework. And in resource management, especially, that field really relies on being able to get grants to keep the work moving. And then say you were interested in an internship and you had some time that you wanted to dedicate thinking about an organization with a department that focuses on water resources would be really great, such as the Army Corps of Engineers or your local or state government agency that has a water quality department. This will be able to help you kind of showcase some of your abilities to work in those environments, be able to get connected with professionals who are in the field. So as we mentioned, Alyssa is going to share a little bit more information on internships and getting ready for your resume and application materials, interviewing, and all of that good stuff coming up next. Thanks so much.
Thanks, Tara. So to wrap up a little bit here, let's highlight just some few tips to think about while you're exploring your ideal job. First is definitely check out a site called ONET. You can view each job occupation. You can view their full details, like the specific job responsibilities within that role, some of the required skills that might be needed, and sometimes they even list the typical salary ranges, where those opportunities are located, and much more. We also encourage you to think about using popular job boards or sometimes even more niche job boards to search for that specific job or internship opportunity by that job title. And then make sure you set up some job alerts for yourself so you get notified when those opportunities open up. And next, an idea or food for thought is to search for SNHU alumni who may be employed in your ideal job on LinkedIn and make that vital connection. And finally, some few tips to think about while you're exploring maybe your ideal employer or your ideal organization. Again, make sure to go right to their company's websites, look at their career job board, and sign up for those job alerts as well. So you'll be notified right away when job opportunities at that ideal company become available. Additionally, we encourage students to think about following the company or their organization's profile on sites like LinkedIn or SNHU Job Board Handshake, and that way you'll get notified of timely updates and posts. Just a quick example of this, I follow the National Park Service on their LinkedIn, and just recently I got a notification they posted on their LinkedIn profile that they'll be hosting a monthly jobs webinar series, which is very exciting. And lastly, we do again encourage students to search for SNHU alumni who may be working at your desired organization or company. Again, browse them right on LinkedIn and make that important connection. So students ask us all the time here in career services, can I get into a geoscience related or environmental science related job without any experience or remotely relevant background? And the short answer to that is yes, it is possible. When it comes to landing a job in this particular field, hiring managers in the field are really most concerned with the skills you have and the degree program that you've completed. And if you have the technical skills, the soft skills, the relevant degree, and really a willingness to learn, you can really find those entry-level opportunities. So let's explore how you can make a career change by discussing these options listed here on the screen. You might want to consider looking for opportunities to volunteer or intern with environmental organizations, research institutions, or government agencies. This will give you hands on experience and help you build a network within the field. And working in a voluntary capacity in an environmental science or geoscience related role may often be the first step into a more specialized, even paid employment opportunity as well. So, who knows what it can lead to? Also, think about attending environmental science conferences, joining professional associations, and connecting with professionals in the field through social media platforms like LinkedIn. Networking can open up opportunities for you and provide you really valuable insights. Consider researching state licenses and trainings that may help you demonstrate your proficiency in a new field on your resume and in your job applications. You can then note any completed certifications or courses or licenses, or even ones that you're currently working on. You can also consider pursuing additional courses, like Tyra mentioned, while here in school at SNHU related to environmental science or geosciences. And also think about highlighting any transferable skills you have from your current or previous work experience, such as project management or data analysis or your communication skills. These skills can be valuable in environmental science and geoscience roles. And you can also think about connecting your work background into a similar environmental science or geoscience field or job. So let's go through a few examples. Let's say you come from a technical background, something maybe along the lines of computer science, maybe engineering, data science, mathematics, or something similar. There are plenty of exciting opportunities in green technology, for example, that could likely align well with your previous work experience. Specifically, you could look into up and coming technology that's maybe surrounding clean energy, or maybe transportation, sustainable farming, or maybe waste reduction. And if you come from a business background, a great place to maybe think about starting is in environmental consulting. Environmental consulting combines technical environmental knowledge with many of the soft skills that you could acquire in really any client facing or sales role. Beyond that, if you have a finance or maybe accounting background, you could look into entering fundraising or accounting roles at environmental nonprofits or charities. If you had a marketing background, maybe consider how your experience can be transferred to brand management for companies that are in environmental technology or those environmental nonprofits. And lastly, let's say you come from a creative background. You could think about channeling some of your efforts into environmental activism. Some of the most important work in the environmental science field is raising awareness about harmful environmental actions and environmental policies through maybe art, your writing, television, and social media. So you could really think about uniting your creative side and passion for environmental issues to create compelling content for companies maybe in media or environmental justice or those environmental charities. So remember, starting a new career in environmental sciences or geosciences may take time and effort, but with dedication and perseverance, it is achievable. So internships are definitely a great way to gain some experience in your industry of interest. But internships don't have to follow the typical internship program. Really think about it more in the lens of gaining experience. And you can gain experience in a variety of ways, which does include more traditional internship programs, but they are not the only way. It's more about what your career goals are and where and how you want to get that hands on experience. So some things to think about first is maybe where could you find an internship or an opportunity to gain some hands-on experiences? There are a number of resources to get you started, and that includes online job boards, company websites, universities, and going to specific federal sites to view those specific internship opportunities. Another very important step to consider is your own availability. Can you complete an internship while working full time, or being a full time parent, or being a full time student? For some, the answer is yes. It is possible to do an internship while having another full time commitment, but it can be challenging to balance both. So it's very important to consider your workload, time management, and the potential impact on your well being before making this decision. And really, this can only be determined by you. Most internship postings will likely specify the work hours that may be required. If not, be sure to reach out to that contact or that employer organization to ask them. Internships occurring during the academic year typically require a commitment of about 10 to 20 hours per week on average. During the summer, it's more common for a traditional internship program to be full-time, closer to 20, maybe 40 hours a week. If committing full-time to an internship doesn't fit your needs or your time, there are other things to consider. You can consider part-time or short-term internship programs that only last a few weeks and sometimes only ask for a few hours per week. You can also consider virtual-only projects, which are often a little bit more flexible, or limited hourly volunteer projects. So let's get into some really brief examples. And by no means are these the be all and end all for your internship or gaining experience search. These are just a small highlighted list that you can consider as you begin to explore on your own. So, for example, the website that's called Pathways to Science, it offers an extensive list of STEM-related internships, fellowships, and research opportunities at companies and universities nationwide. You can even browse by program and college degree level to find an opportunity that you might be interested in. Another example is the Pathways program. The Pathways program offers paid and unpaid federal internship opportunities, both for current students as well as recent graduates. And let's say you're interested in short voluntary or hourly projects to gain some experience. You can consider sites like citizenscience.gov. In citizen science, the public participates voluntarily in the scientific process, addressing real world problems in ways that may include formulating research questions, conducting scientific experiments, collecting and analyzing data, and then interpreting those results. So in crowdsourcing, organizations, they will often submit an open call for voluntary assistance, and you can view each project and sign up to participate for a few hours or so. Additionally, Forage is actually an SNHU partner, and Forage offers free self-paced virtual job simulations with real companies. So job simulations, what they do is they replicate work at top companies and they help connect students to the actual companies themselves. So Forge offers job simulations in three specific areas: climate change, sustainability, and environmental consulting. So students would typically work virtually up to maybe 5 to 7 hours on an assigned project per each job simulation. And once you've completed that job simulation, students then learn relevant tools and skills necessary to replicate an employee's real workday at a real company. You also connect directly with those companies and you can add the relevant project experience to your resume. So, if you're applying for a job or an internship, your resume is often that first document hiring managers review when deciding whether you're a good fit. So, let's go over some helpful tips. The first, write a dynamic profile summarizing your unique qualifications. A professional summary helps you highlight your career accomplishments in the field. So, this section is usually a maximum of about 3 to 4 sentences describing why you have the qualifications that employer is looking for. So, for example, you might write something like resourceful geologist with experience in mineral exploration and mapping. Remember, you will need to adjust and tailor your summary for each job application. Second, add an accomplishment driven professional experience section. So, your professional experience section is the foundation of your resume and should feature your most impactful career achievements. So, consider listing your achievements and accomplishments in your role rather than just some of the standard duties you did. So, for example, you could write something like collected soil, sediment rock, and core samples for over 20 field sites. Using numbers or percentages to provide an accurate representation of your contributions is really helpful. You can also include volunteer experiences, part-time jobs, or even internships that you performed that relate to the position you're applying for. Third, be sure to include relevant education certifications. Organizations hiring geoscience and environmental science majors are looking for professionals who are experts in their fields. So including your education degree and other credentials like any licenses, certifications, or trainings clearly on your resume help you demonstrate your expertise. And last, list pertinent key skills. So your resume, when you're applying for a job or internship, will often pass through what's called an applicant tracking system or an ATS system. It's a computer program designed to look for the most relevant resumes. These programs do their jobs by looking for specific skills and keywords. So including relevant skills, especially those mentioned by the employer in the actual job posting, can help you make it through the ATS system. And listing the most important keywords in the job description in your skills section may also help you catch the attention of the hiring manager as well. So there are plenty of skills that can move from one job to the next, and they're known as transferable skills. So knowing what transferable skills are and how to highlight them on your resume can be the difference between a recruiter passing you by or moving you to the interview process. That's because spotlighting your transferable skills on your resume can help you connect your relevant work experience with the job's qualifications. So, some helpful tips before you do anything, read that job description slowly and carefully. You don't want to miss an important qualification. As you read, keep an eye out for any transferable skills and write them down. Next, write down examples from your work history that fit each requirement. If you have trouble coming up with some examples, maybe think about asking a peer or your advisor or maybe even a manager to help you identify projects or works that you've done that align with the transferable skills that the job is looking for. And in your resume, include your transferable skills examples using clear, concise details. Try not using vague or general language. Instead, really showcase specifics that illustrate your command of those particular skills. So many SNHU students in our geosciences and environmental science programs have backgrounds in fields like nursing or public service like firemen or law enforcement, retail, and many more. And so when you're ready for a career change, it's a good idea to think about those transferable skills. Again, those transferable skills refer to your knowledge, experiences, and abilities that you can take from one job to another. So in this example, we are looking at a job description for an environmental scientist, and the student in this example has a background in nursing. So using the steps we just learned, we can start to identify the transferable skills. So as you can see on the color-coded sentences, the ability to conduct research, perform tests and investigations, or communicate with others are all examples of transferable skills that show you have the key skills that this particular job is looking for. And finally, if your resume needs updating, you can use SNHU's Skills First, which is our free resume builder. So on the screen here is a quick demo walkthrough of Skills First. It's one basically Skills First in a nutshell is a one-stop shop when it comes to getting started with your resume or getting help updating your current resume. Skills First lets you upload a resume, browse other resume templates and examples, or you can even create a brand new resume on your own from scratch. You can even browse templates by occupation, like environmental scientist or geoscientist or geologist. And if you have questions about Skills First, or you really just need some help and guidance with your resume, or you need someone to give you some feedback on your resume, you can reach out to the SNHU Career Services team, and one of our career advisors would be happy to help you. And just a quick shout out here. Last month, the SNHU team hosted the Environmental Protection Agency for a virtual webinar session where we actually had a recruiter representative share resume tips for federal jobs, not just with the EPA, but across all government jobs when you're applying through USA Jobs. She also highlighted USA Jobs. They have a free resume builder as well that could be really helpful for students. So we're going to include the link here to that video in the chat box momentarily. So we do just encourage you to watch it to get some great tips as you prepare your resume for government jobs or government internships. And in the diverse and expansive field of geoscience and environmental science, a successful job interview can really mean the difference between exploring a new geological frontier or missing out on an incredible opportunity. For example, as a geoscientist, you are expected to understand our planet's structure, its processes, its history, and the complex systems that operate within it. As an environmental scientist, an interviewer will likely ask you various questions covering everything from experience with the tools used in environmental science to your understanding of the ethical considerations around each specific research. Preparation is vital to helping you answer interview questions in this field confidently and efficiently. So that means familiarizing yourself with the company that's hiring and what it is exactly that they're looking for. So take some time to research the company. This will show the interviewer that you are interested and you know about their business. So some things that you could research include their history, maybe their mission statement or their values, any recent news articles that are posted about them, or maybe specific products that they provide or use. Next, understand how the role you're applying for benefits the organization's really broader objectives. Understanding the company's culture and values can also give you an extra edge during that interview. And be ready to ask questions too. By asking questions, you can show your expertise. Asking questions shows you're interested in the company, and it also shows that you can gauge whether the company is really a good fit for you. Because guess what? You're interviewing them too. So, apart from enabling you to hack the job interview and succeed, preparation will also help you manage your stress and your expectations. And this will result in a much more confident and stronger ability to ace those interview questions. So, as you begin to prepare for your interviews, it could be helpful to consider completing a mock interview and really getting some practice in. A mock interview helps you develop interview strategies, enhance your communication skills, answer some of those challenging questions, and ease the nerves that you may experience before an actual interview. And now students can explore a few options when it comes to completing a mock interview or a practice interview. One, students can browse interview prep resources online related to that particular field or that particular job. Students can also use SNHU Skills First, where we have a practice interviewing feature on that site. And lastly, we definitely encourage students to consider meeting one-on-one with an SNHU career advisor for additional interview prep and advice. And now I'll turn it over to Tyra.
Thanks so much, Alyssa, and thank you everyone for sharing in the chat. We've got a lot of great discussion happening and a lot of great questions coming up that I'm excited. So we have covered a lot in a very short period of time. So let's just kind of recap with some of the big highlights and some potential action steps. You don't have to do all of these. Maybe you choose one. Maybe there was one key takeaway from the chat or something that you learned about a different resource today. Consider, are you just starting out? Do you already have several years experience? Are you shifting careers entirely? Are you looking to move up in your current role? So no matter where you are, where you're starting from, you can take proactive steps now to get you closer to your career goals. And so here are some outlined kind of next steps for you to consider. Again, you don't have to do all of these, but really kind of think about what makes the most sense for you where you are. Maybe it's just having a conversation with your academic advisor this week about experiential learning or potential electives that you're interested in taking. Maybe it's updating a resume. Maybe it's practicing an interview. Or taking a look at some of the resources that we've shared here in the chat as inspiration. So this concludes our webinar. Like I mentioned, there will be a Q&A period, so please stick around. There were a few questions in the chat that I wanted to either reiterate or make sure that we got to. But before we jump into Q&A, just wanted to put a plug out for part 3 of our webinar series. Again, all of these are recorded, but we would love to have you live there on March 26th. What's going to be happening on March 26th? So for part 3, we're going to conclude with some of our SNHU alumni. You'll be able to hear firsthand from them, their experience all the way through graduation and landing a job, as well as we're going to highlight some recruiters who will be available to answer questions related to career exploration, internships, resumes, networking, and kind of recap some of the things that we talked about today. So before we get into Q&A, Alyssa just popped a link into the chat to register for part 3. We really hope you can make it. And if you have time, just take a moment to be able to fill out the survey that has the QR code here on the slide. We would love to hear your feedback and how things have gone tonight. Did we cover everything that you were looking for? Had enough detail, too much? We're going to continue to iterate on this, and we really want to make sure that you're getting all the information that you're looking for. Really appreciate that everyone was able to attend tonight. So I'm going to pass it back to Alyssa, and I'll try to find which questions do we want to kind of start
I was
off
just
with.
going to say, so we've got roughly about 10 minutes or so before we conclude for the evening. So again, really, this is y'all's time and space. So if you have questions, or again, we're going to try and peruse up through the chat box, but if we missed it, feel free just to type your question again right into the chat box. That way we can see them kind of fresh and reloaded. If there's something that we didn't get to, please feel free to pop it into the chat box now, and we'll read them aloud so everyone can kind of hear and see, and we'll do our best to answer them. So looks like a question came in. Are these webinars conducted on a regular basis? I'm a first-year student. Maybe more helpful for me to get this information a year or two from now, more seriously considering entering the field rather just getting some of the groundwork finishing. Grant, that is a wonderful question, and the answer to that is yes. So these webinars are actually a fairly new initiative, I will say. We did actually kick off our first Navigating Your Science career journey back in 2023. We took place really in the fall. So this is our first kind of spring testing of the Navigating Your Science career journey, and these will be recurring career webinar series. So stay tuned for sure. And this is, again, a big initiative in partnering with the academic field or academic partners like Tyra and myself and this new career services team. We really want this information to be fresh and robust, and helping, again, navigating. Students can really navigate no matter where you may be currently in your academic journey. There are opportunities for you to start thinking about your career journey early on. So that's really why we're here, why we really were motivated to put these series together. So great question, and again, really appreciate you being here. Any other questions? But again, please feel free to pop them into the chat, especially if I think there was one about GPAs. I remember that might have come through.
Yes.
So great question. I think the question was, is it required for you to include your GPA on your resume when you're applying for opportunities? That is really dependent on the opportunity. I would say for jobs, it's not usually expected, or a recruiter might not expect you to include your GPA. By all means, you definitely can. I find that most internship opportunities or traditional internship programs will often have a requirement that a student has to meet a specific GPA. So in that instance, if you're applying for an internship program, having your GPA listed there front and center is definitely going to be helpful. Again, might even be required. So you'll just want to look at that description or the requirement section of the internship before you apply, if there's some detailed information about the GPA. So that's typically where I see recruiters ask for that information. When it comes to job opportunities, again, it's not always listed or clear, but you are welcome to include your GPA. By no means do you have to have it or not have it, but I would say it mostly falls in line when you're applying for internship programs. Just keep an eye on that. Make sure you read that requirement section to see if a GPA is required. And another question here, are internships the best way to narrow down what I want to do with this degree? Great question. I would say internships are definitely one way, but they are not the only way. So as Tyra and I explained, there's some really unique opportunities to explore electives or experiential learning courses while you're here at SNHU that could really help you focus in and narrow in on a career path that is of interest to you while you're going through your courses. So I would highly recommend exploring those. As Tyra, feel free to jump in here. But there, as some of the examples that we went over this evening, again, there were some really specific opportunities if you wanted to go more towards, emergency management. There are some really great electives and courseworks and opportunities for experiential learning while you're here at SNU that you could kind of dip your toe into, and that's a really good way for you to test the waters to see if that is a potential career path that you're really, really interested in. Or again, some of the opportunities I mentioned in the more of that internship slide was, there are some short-term projects you can consider, maybe volunteering. I'd say volunteering is a really great way because the commitment there is not too intense. That way, as far as an internship program where you might be locked in for several weeks or several months and you realize, I don't really like this internship program, or I don't really like what I'm doing. Volunteering might offer a little bit of that ease where it's not as intensive a commitment, but it still allows you to get some of that experience for you to really identify, okay, this is what I don't want to do, which is just as informative and helpful as realizing what you do want to do. So I hope that that's helpful.
That's exactly what I was going to say, Alyssa. I remember my first internship, and I realize I don't want to work in a cubicle and not talk to anyone all day. I really need the collaboration piece there. So it is a great way to get kind of on the job experience to figure out whether you like that kind of setting or not. I think I can take the next question, whether or not there will be a geoscience or urban planning master soon. Great question, Brandy. I can only see maybe taking a PMP degree or MBA being the closest ideas. Yeah, currently SNHU online offers an MBA with a focus in sustainability. That is probably the closest kind of partner that we have in terms of a master's degree online. We also offer a master's in data analytics if you wanted to go that route, but being able to talk with your advisor if there's specific interests there. Currently, we don't have geoscience or environmental science as a master's program, but we have heard a lot of interest. So keep that information coming, keep it funneled through these avenues as well as your advisors, because we love to hear what folks are interested in kind of following your bachelor's degree. And one of my favorite questions, Alyssa, is SNHU Career Services available to you after you graduate?
It sure is. So, Diana, great question. Yes. So, this new career services team is a free resource for life. So, you can work directly with the Career Service Office, which is a dedicated team of career advisors located nationwide. You can reach out to us. You can call us or email us anytime. The information's here on the screen while you're a current student and right after you graduate and well beyond after graduation. You can always reach out to our career advising team. They're ready and willing to help you out as you navigate and explore career opportunities. So great question. I did see one that came in right before that, more along the lines of networking. So, thought of networking is really overwhelming. Do you have any advice on networking with job providers? So, I am right there with you, Crystal. I'm actually, believe it or not, you probably can't tell from this webinar, but I'm definitely more of an introvert when it comes to networking. It tends to overwhelm me, gets me a little bit nervous. I'm pretty shy, so in a social situation. So, I'm right there with you. I think one of the easiest ways to still gain some opportunities and really meet with employers or with agencies is really to attend virtual events kind of like this one. So the SNHU Career Services team, we host virtual events constantly on a monthly basis with employers all over. Like I said, we just had the EPA come and do a virtual webinar for us on those resumes, right? So that could have been a really unique opportunity for you to come, and there's no pressure on you as far as having to present or do anything of that nature. You can come and just really observe and listen and take the information before doing or sort of any sort of kind of follow up or connection with that particular employer. And to be honest, attending some of those virtual employer events really does take some of that pressure off. So let's say following the event, you wanted to reach out to that recruiter. 99.9% of the time, the recruiters are super open to students reaching out to them after a presentation, a webinar, or a panel. They often might include their LinkedIn profile connections. You connect with them or an email address where you can reach out to them. And that again takes a little bit of that pressure off because right away you can say, I'm a SNU student. I just attended your virtual webinar session. It was amazing. I had a few questions about one of the jobs you mentioned. Do you have any advice or is there an opportunity that I can connect with you more directly? So it already kind of gives you that in. So I'd highly recommend you take a look at Handshake, which again is SNHU's job board, and I can add that, make sure that's included in the emailed resources you all will get after this webinar. And you can browse all the upcoming career events that we have, not only hosted through the SNU Career Services team here, but employers on Handshake themselves host their own webinars. For example, we work really closely with the FBI, and they host tons of their own virtual events that you can sign up for anytime. There's a couple other government agencies we work with. They host their own events. So you can even browse those and take a peek. And I think that might help you really kind of, again, dip your toe without really having to feel like there's a lot of pressure on you to really make those vital connections. So I hope that that's helpful.
Awesome. Thank you, Alyssa. There's one question, I think two questions that we wanted to make sure that we grabbed here. LinkedIn, whether or not it is a must. I would say probably not necessarily in the sciences. It's not like, if you were in business, it's like definitely a requirement so that people can find you and realize that you're a real person. But LinkedIn is a great way to get connected, both with people that are here So if folks have a LinkedIn, pop it in the chat. Let's all get connected. I will often post a number of opportunities for internships, jobs, things that come up, different webinars. So even if you cannot attend something that's through SNHU, there's a lot of industry webinars. Since the pandemic, everyone has put all of their presentations online and records everything. And it's just a really great way to showcase that you're engaged and that you're looking to network. If there's a conference or a webinar, things like that, you can see who else is attending in addition to the speakers and get connected with them as well. And I know that they're always, if you're looking for internships or jobs, positions and things like that, it's also a nice kind of space to be able to apply to those things.
Absolutely. And I'll echo from even more of like the recruiter lens. I'll tell you now, recruiters are constantly utilizing LinkedIn to find talent. So it's definitely, again, not a must, but if you're really wanting to make sure that recruiters can find you, if you are looking for those unique opportunities, it's to your benefit to try and make sure you have a LinkedIn profile created. And there are tons of great information and resources of how to put together a professional LinkedIn portfolio, or excuse me, profile, not portfolio, profile. And how you can make sure that you let recruiters who are searching LinkedIn for top talent know that you're available. Like I had mentioned before, one of my examples, a lot of employers also use LinkedIn to, again, post timely career updates or career opportunities. I follow the National Park Service on their LinkedIn account, and that's how I found out about the upcoming jobs webinar series that they're going to be hosting shortly. So again, it's a really great way to be just kept kind of in the loop of what's going on within those particular organizations that are of interest to you. So following those companies on LinkedIn can really help leverage you as you're starting to really explore career opportunities and you navigate your career search. So I would highly encourage it. By no means is it a must, but it definitely can really help get you in the right direction when you're looking for jobs or looking for companies. All right. And we are officially 1 minute over, so I want to be cognizant of time for everybody. So again, thank you all so much for being here this evening. If we didn't get to your question or if you have more questions, please come to part 3. I am going to add that one more time here in the chat box so that you all can go ahead and click right on it to get yourself registered. Again, we will be inviting alumni and recruiters to come to part 3. So it's a great space and time for you to ask your unique specific questions with subject matter experts in the field. So once again, thank you all so much for being here this evening. I hope you all have a wonderful rest of the evening. And if you need any other assistance, again, please feel free to reach out to the career team. You see our information's here on the screen, and we are happy and ready to help. And we hope to see you all at part 3. Thank you all so much.
Thanks, everyone. Have a great evening.